Hi there, and welcome to the latest edition of the Gersnet Weekly Podcast, the independent Rangers podcast, which is brought to you by fans for fans, and where the content is absolutely free. It is episode 168 of the Gersnet Podcast. I'm your host tonight. I'm Colin Armstrong. As I say every week, guys, it's not just the pod that we do here at Gersnet. We've got the website, there's articles, there's the forums as well. Lots of friendly chat going on there, all Rangers chat. There's a history archive on the website as well. So get yourself on there if you can. If you like what we do here, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We've got over 5,000 subscribers now, and we're looking for more. So put the word out there on social media. If you like what we do, give us a wee subscribe. And as I said, put the word out there. Before we get properly started and I bring in my guests, I need to mention a new partnership we have with Zenith Coins in the Gersnet Podcast. So you have the chance to win. It's a coin collection, a Zenith coin collection. So there's two ways you can do that. You can follow Frankie on his Twitter account. He's put a sort of pinned tweet up there, sorry. If you retweet that sort of thing, that enters you. You can also do it tonight. If you're watching live tonight, you can do it by mentioning it in the comment section that you want to take part. I'll announce the winner of that tonight. So it's like a limited edition. There's only 1,872 sets of these coins worldwide. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to celebrate Rangers' 150th anniversary. As I said, there's 5 iconic milestones sort of depicted in these coins. So it's the founding fathers, Ibrox Stadium, the Cup Winners' Cup win in 72, 9 in a row, and 55 league titles. If you're unlucky, if you don't win, either through following Frankie or in the comment section tonight, as I said, these are available to buy. So visit www.zenithcoins.com for more details on that. And as I said, I'll announce the winner of who's watching live tonight in the comment section later in the show. So time to bring in my guests. So as always, it seems like he's here every week at the moment. It's Alex Anderson. How are you, Alex?
Not bad, mate. Just glad to have something to do. Again, this is the only thing I do, so it's nice to... My wife's quite happy you've gave her a break, So I made...
What's the pennant tonight? What's the pennant? It's no due.
Yeah, I went for the quarter-final against Colin in the 1978-79 European Cup. Again, we lost. We went out
that's not the one they pumped us 5-0 at one point. That was
UEFA Cup a few years later. No, this is when we beat Juventus in the first round, beat PSV Eindhoven second round, and then we went out to Cologne in the quarters, who Nottingham Forest beat in the semis.
I was about to say, who did they get in the next round? Nottingham Forest. That'd have been some game if they'd have got them.
When we acted as a kind of sweeper for Forest that year, when they went on to win it. But I felt safe of putting up a pennant of a game that we'd actually kind of lost after us turning it around today. It's been a hell of a week, mate.
Aye, it's been up and down. Yes. And also joining us is Iain Duff, a man who it feels like I'm almost like his twin brother, because we have similar age, similar interests, a bit of retro, bit of Subbuteo. Like our vinyl. So how are you, Iain?
Better than I was, let's say. Better than I was yesterday, that's for sure. So yeah.
Was Wednesday sore, even all the way down there, and it's no Lincolnshire you're in, where is it?
Yeah, we're down here, so yeah, it was. It was. I managed to sort of avoid any. I mean, the good thing about being here is that I don't have to put up with the sort of the hilarious banter, all that sort of stuff. So there's not much of that going on, but it still hurts.
It was a sore one, wasn't it? I mean, we'll not talk too much about Wednesday night. I couldn't do a preview show on Friday. I was at a gig, and I went to see Cast, and I got in at me and my mate checked, that set list website you can check, and it gives you the sort of set list that bands have played on previous nights and stuff like that. So they come on stage at 8:50. They've played like 2 nights before or something like 8:50. So we arrived exactly at 8:50 thinking we're cutting it fine, and they'd been on stage for 45 minutes. Magic! I think we were in for 10 minutes and they'd done their first encore. And I never got to the game today for situations I'll not even go on about. It was a disaster with transport the day. So I'm having a great weekend.
So it's a good week then.
Oh, it's been brilliant. Aye, pumped on Wednesday. Saw half a gig on Friday and never got to the game today. So it's just been brilliant. But that said, it has been brilliant because, we've after what happened on Wednesday, it was, how can I put it? It was exactly the sort of result. And I think more so the performance that we needed. You know, I think Scott Arfield was getting interviewed after the game on Wednesday. I think Ryan Jack as well, both sort of saying, you know, we need a reaction, you know, after a result like this. And again, more importantly, after a performance like Wednesday nights, we need a reaction. And I think it's fair to say we got that today. I mean, you could possibly argue that was, I know we battered Motherwell 6-1 earlier in the season, but I think you could say, considering Hearts are third, and we did have a wee wobble sort of early in the second half, which we'll come on to discuss. But I think you would have to say, in terms of performance and result, that's probably the best that Rangers have given us all season.
Absolutely, it's going to save my life, Colin. It was. I think all the Rangers fans out there will feel the same. It was 100% what we were looking for. Response, reaction. You were going a lot of arguing about, you know, I was just catching up there and the kind of Sky reaction in the studio, and there's this talk about you wanted a win first and foremost, but I think what we actually wanted was to see the players specifically react and showing in their performance that Wednesday night hurt them and they were ready to do something about it. And within that, if we got that, we were going to win anyway, you know. And we went out there and basically Hearts in the third force. I think I heard a wee stat there again on Sky. It was Elliot Barber. I think she said basically Hearts have been conceding that 11 goals in 12 away games in the league this season. Basically a goal a game they've been conceding in the league away games, and we went and put 5 past them. That's the third force in Scottish football. So I don't know what if you lose 3-0 away to the second force and then you win 5-0 at home to the first force. I don't know if you kind of divide and carry the two, what the algebra. But I think we're back on track right away. The players.
It was doubly nice that Craig Gordon was on the end of it as well. No.
Aye. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That always helps. It's quite funny if we've got Suter, wasn't he, playing the day, and he's coming to Rangers, and then with Andy Halliday getting a standing ovation when he come on. You know, he used to play for, then you get Barry Mackay, who were kind of just not liking really, even though he used to play for us. It's really, you know, and the guy who scored their first kind of league goal in the bottom when we were in the lower leagues, it was just a weird kind of collection of symbolism all over the place today, because you're saying that I've not got anything else to do. I'm always on these pods these days, and it was Tuesday night, the preview show. Rangers don't lose. That's really rare for Rangers to lose 3 goals in a league game. We get there and we lose 3 again the next night, you know. Yeah. I think we're going to do that. I think we'll probably sneak it tomorrow night. I'll be quite absolutely pumped, looking terrible. I think the main thing for me today was we showed a kind of cohesion, and I think we showed an identity as well. It was quite kind of new. And that's what I was looking for, because we're going to talk about, you know, the reaction to Wednesday and what it meant for Gio and folk questioning Gio. And I was just questioning everything on at half-time on Wednesday night, Gio included. My only hope, you try to think these things through, you try to work out a kind of form, you know, you're constantly projecting your own ideas, everything, because you don't really know what's going on in the dressing room, what's happened. But my thought was that we'd come back from the winter break and the form had just completely gone. And this was either Gio has completely lost the dressing room in that old kind of cliched nonsense phrase, you know, or he's just given the players, he's went into a dressing room when he arrived in November with a bunch of players who are champions. So he's just given them their own head. He's only made a few tweaks to the style. He's let them play on. And then after the break, they've started dropping bad points. I know it's selection problems and all that with guys at the team, but it was almost like, I was most disturbed by his reaction after Pittodrie, and he's kind of sanguine, kind of relaxed reaction after dropping the points at Ross County as well. And that kind of worried me. But I think when you made the 3 substitutions at half time the other night, and then when he's, you know, he was kind of a bit more critical of the team, no looking for any excuses. And then he's at full time, and then he's went out today, and lots of players dropped, lots of other players brought back in. He seemed to have stamped his own mark on it. And I'm wondering if he just got to the point he said, right, there could be no arguing, no jip from the players about what happened at Parkhead. This is my dressing room now. I'm in charge. I've given you enough rope to hang yourself. It's now my team. And the day we just looked like kind of born again. The new manager bounces over. Gio's arrived.
Ian, on the changes now, we'll go on and talk about the guys that come in later on. You know, Lundstrom's come in. Jack's his first start in Christ knows how long. Morelos back, which was a frustrating one, given I don't think he got any game time at all when he was away. I'd rather focus on the ones that were dropped today. So Borna was dropped, and I don't think he could really have any complaints, after that performance on Wednesday night. I mean, there's always kind of a fall guy after, sore defeats like Wednesday. And I would think that Borna's the one that's come out the worst. I'm still so angry that part of me is like, I don't know if he'll ever play for Rangers again after that performance. It really was that bad. I felt he was targeted and he sort of crumbled a wee bit, and it was no surprise to see that he wasn't in the team today.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we've talked about Borna over the last few years quite a lot in terms of his makeup and how he reacts to certain things, and we've talked about him being a confidence player, and I think when things go badly for him, he does crumble. That's been seen through and through. I mean, to be fair to him, he's come back on more than one occasion. When he started out, I don't think anybody really had great hopes for him at all in his first season, and he sort of picked it up towards the sort of Christmas time, a few games in, and he looked a much better player. And then other occasions he's lost it, and he seemed again. You sort of thought, well, maybe this is his time's up. He's reverted to type or whatever. But he's come back, so I wouldn't write him off completely. But I do think he's made. It's difficult to sort of judge somebody in their mentality. We don't really know what goes on inside people's heads, but his mentality does look suspect sometimes. And when he's under pressure, or when things aren't going so well, he does seem to look as if he's the weak link. I thought, and we all come on to the players that replaced him, but I thought Bassi actually did much better. He had his moments, but he did much better at left back, and he looks much more comfortable at left back. So we're kind of lucky we've got a ready-made replacement there for him, certainly in the short term. Yeah,
it's not just the defending. I think, under Gerrard, obviously we used the fullbacks a lot going forward, and Borna excelled at that. And obviously his set piece delivery helps as well. But I think this season, I find he's struggling to get past his man to get crosses in. So there are times he's suspect defensively, and you're not getting that much from him going forward anymore. So you're asking the question, well, what actually is this guy giving us at the moment? The other one who I thought was slightly unlucky, don't get me wrong, I thought he had a sort of hand to play in the third goal on Wednesday as well, was Kamara. He was dropped today. We'll come on and talk about his goal and his reaction, because I thought it was a good one. But could he have any complaints that we've been left out today,
Ian? Difficult to say again, because do you drop somebody just on the basis of a couple of mistakes, or do you try and get them to react to that and come back? Perhaps dropping them is the sort of wake up call that the players need. And at the moment, thankfully, because players are coming back, we're not short of players who can play in that position. So I don't think he would have any complaints, and it's not the first time he's been left out. When you say the word dropped, it makes it sound much maybe worse than it is. Maybe he just looked at the lineup and thought, right, let's switch it about a bit. We've tried that. We've tried it with him. Maybe he needs a rest, and someone else comes in we'll give them a chance instead. So I think his attitude is probably going to be that I'm part of this squad, and I might not necessarily be playing every week. And he hasn't been playing he hasn't actually played every week. If you look back over the previous seasons that he's been here, he's coming in and out of the team occasionally as well. So I think we've got I wouldn't say an embarrassment of riches yet, but when everyone's back fit, then we've got a pretty strong central midfield in the squad. So it could be that he comes in and out more regularly, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe playing every week is not the way to get the best out of some players.
Alex, in terms of one that came back today, and I think we were all frustrated that he didn't play. I mean, whether it would have had much of an impact on Wednesday, given how poorly we performed all over the park, is debatable. But I certainly think he would have made a difference up at Dingwall. I think he could have made a difference up there and got us a win rather than dropping the 2 points. So it was good to see him back. And again, given, you know, he was involved in all 5 goals today, scored 2 himself, probably should have had a hat-trick. Further evidence that under Gio and Roy Mackay, we seem to be seeing a more lightweight, more energised and better all-round Alfredo Morelos.
He was absolutely phenomenal. The blonde arrow. He was different class today. He was a kind of one-man response between him and Ryan Jack. You know, it's that kind of thing of you're a hero by default by not being involved at Parkhead. You've automatically arrived on the park today as a fan's favourite. You know, Alfie's always been a fan's favourite anyway. But I'm the same yourself, Colin. I don't know, but Wednesday night it was so bad all round, and I think it was about so many more things than personnel that there's a good chance Alfie wouldn't have been playing today anyway. If he'd been playing in Wednesday night, he might have been heading down the tunnel before Gio had a chance to sub him off. That kind of performance on Wednesday. We don't know that, we'll never know. But there was a photograph today, I think it was on the Rangers Twitter account, just in the build-up to the game, and it's him talking to Roy Mackay, and we're all thinking, is that what it's all about? Is he making that difference? Because he's definitely lost a bit of weight. And the way he went about it today was like part kind of scalpel, part sledgehammer. His touches, his set-up play, his movement, he's got a poacher's goal, he's curling one in for the edge of the box. He was a complete package today, but I do think Alfredo also, apart from the fact that his game definitely has improved under Gio, as you say, I think he's turning up. He just loves that kind of. He gets to walk into Ibrox today and be, what the hell happened to this place when I was away? You know, when he gets the feather duster out in the apron, I'll tidy this up, I'll get this sorted. Yeah. And he was loving it, you know, and that's what we want. You're needing big personalities, and I think between him and Ryan Jack just really kind of made a huge difference today, and everybody else rose to that occasion with them. And the big man Alfie was electric, absolutely electric. It's one of the best performances I've seen, you know, certainly this season anyway. But he was outstanding.
We got evidence of that, Ian, in the first goal, but I don't think we should just focus on Morelos' contribution to that. I mean, good finish. He's timed his run perfectly. But I think we should focus more first on the pass for Bassey, and I think that's something Rangers don't do enough now, is that pass between the fullback and the centre half that just splits the defence wide open and allows Kent to run onto it. So it's a great ball for Bassey, great ball for Kent, you know, and Morelos has come in and finished it. Just a great team goal, and something that we never really seen on Wednesday, that sort of movement, that sort of incision, you know, getting in behind teams, turning defences.
Yeah, I mean, you might have expected, you know, the sort of Bassey to be where in previous under Gerrard, perhaps it would have been Bassey would have been where Kent was in some ways. So Kent would have been making the pass to Bassey, and that's maybe an example of where the Gio's tactics have changed and given, you know, the winger the opportunity to be further ahead of the fullbacks, and you know, he's, you know, Kent made the run, but it was a fantastic cross. You know, first time, hit the ball, looked up, and I half expected Morelos to put it over, to be quite honest, because just the way things have been going recently, I just thought it was going to go over. But he controlled it superbly, timed his run perfectly, and you know, it was really good to see. And because we'd had a couple of chances already, I think at that stage, and we were starting to, even sort of 15, 20 minutes or whatever it was into the game, we're already starting to think, is it going to be another one of these games where we're dominating and just don't take chances? So it was pretty clinical. But the build-up was excellent, and you know, it was good to see Kent deliver a inch perfect cross, really, and Morelos' run was good. But yeah, but Bassey played his part as well. It was an excellent pass.
Is that something? It's funny you say that, because after Wednesday night's trauma, I was on the WhatsApp to fellow podder John and John McCallum, and I was kind of moaning about Kent, and that's something that he said. He says, well, you know, under Gerrard, the fullbacks were going beyond him and taking bodies away. He says now the defences are just doubling up on Kent. He's not having the same opportunity. I have to say that's something that I hadn't really considered, to be honest with you. I just look at the player's performance and think cracking it. But I think he's onto something in the fact that you've sort of hinted at that as well. Where Bassey's position when he got the ball there, he would normally be overlapping, but instead he's trying to find that pass between the centre back and the full back. So do you think that has impacted on Kent's performances this season?
It probably has. I hadn't really thought about it in that kind of way either myself. But yeah, now that you mentioned that, it probably is the case. I think the problem Kent has is the problem of a player like him, who is so reliant on his pace and so reliant on his directness in some ways. And he has skill, but he's also direct. And that a good example of that was the fifth goal that he was involved in, where he just used the electric pace, just blasted away, and they had no chance of catching him. He set up the goal. So, I mean, he doesn't get the opportunity to do that very often in Scotland because the defences are so packed solid, sit so deep, that he doesn't have the opportunity to run at them or run past them and get in behind them. And especially if he's sort of, when he was hanging back a bit and letting the fullbacks overlap, then maybe that gave him in some ways took that defender away from him, but also it meant that he couldn't play to his natural game, I think, and that's maybe why sometimes he played better in Europe than sometimes we've seen in domestic games. So, I mean, he's one of these players. He blows hot and cold. I think that's the trouble. He's not always 100% on his game, and sometimes he gets frustrated. But he's always got that little bit of something, that spark that makes him worth playing. But yeah, the setup has possibly not done him a huge amount of favours at the moment, and coming up against these sort of stifling defences has always been difficult for him, I think.
Hey Alex, we probably should have went in more than 1-0 up at half time. I mean, Kent himself had a really, really good chance that he should have scored. But, that chance, a couple other chances, again, that sort of feeling that we're being quite wasteful with the chances. But I also think we have to have a wee look at some of the refereeing decisions. There was one with Ryan Kent again where it seemed that he had his jersey tugged in the box, and certainly, it inhibited him for moving forward. Looked to me like a stonewall penalty. Okay, Colin lets the play go on, but when Rangers don't get the advantage, you're sort of looking at that it should be a penalty kick. But it wasn't just that. I thought Willie Collins' performance today for both teams. I mean, I saw Robbie Nielsen losing the rag at one point, and I just felt for a wee period in the game, he couldn't go like 20, 30 seconds without blowing his whistle and interrupting the game, and the game became really scrappy. And it felt like more decisions than not, he was getting them wrong.
There was an incident I can't quite remember, and I've not had a chance to watch it all back properly on television yet, but where I think it was like a foul, and I think, is it James McFadden actually comments on it? It was a foul, should have been a foul to Hearts, and the ball had come off the Hearts player last when it went out, and he ended up giving a shite to Rangers. It was like, there's basically, he found the combination of getting both decisions wrong. Decisions wrong anyway.
Balogun's booking is one of the worst bookings I think I've ever seen.
I've not seen it yet. It looked like it at the time. I'm up the back of the main stand. Well, I'm the main stand, but
it's beyond explanation how Balogun gets booked.
Aye, I was at my seat a few times today, and I thought the one, I think when Bassey gets booked as well, it just looks like a 50-50 to me. Yeah. Again, that might be one with the blue tinted specs, but he just seems to go in, win the ball in a way that he has to kind of go in, or else he's going to end up getting crippled, and the Hearts fellas come off worse. I was getting informed today that I didn't even know there's been a rule change, so that when you get treatment on the park, you now don't necessarily have to go off the park. Right. After that, I think if there's been a booking involved, I'm not sure. It was some guy was next to me was putting me right when I was shouting the odds at Willie. But it seemed to even be things like that. It was kind of, the Hearts were getting a bit of, they were allowed the players to keep going, and then we were having to take players off the park an injury and what have you. It was just, it seemed all over the place. It seemed to reek to me of one of the performances from a referee where he's thought, I've lost this today, so what I'll do is I'll just make sure I give a lot against Rangers, and that way I'm seen to be strong for standing up to the home crowd, But that's my bias as well. I'm just seeing this through blue tinted specs. But getting back to what you were saying about the Ryan Kent chance, it was quite a funny thing. It summed up, I think, the collective mood today was that half the crowd wanted to applaud the move, and half the crowd wanted to go in and out a boot through Kent. for missing it. And there was a real kind of feeling of, all right, let's just go with it. Well, we've started well, we're playing well. I think we're getting the action. Let's just go. And the crowd, I felt, kind of went with the players as well today. I think there was enough kind of faith left in this squad of players. Which, I mean, some of the reaction I'm seeing online, never the best place to judge reaction, but some of the reaction I was seeing online on Wednesday, some of the reaction I was responsible for on Wednesday was like,
are you saying Twitter's not a sensible
apparently not
environment? I don't know if I agree with that.
You've got to be very definite in your opinions on Twitter, and I'm one of the most guilty as well. But no, I felt as if there was a moment the other day where it could have been, we're going to get on Kent's back and we're going to lose the rag, but it was like, no, let's just wait. They've started well, they seem to be playing well, and we stuck with them, and Ryan Kent ends up with 3 assists, and it just looked like Ryan Kent is, the number of times he did nothing, so to speak, on Wednesday, but he's got like 3-4 Celtic players on top of him. Somebody else should be exploiting that space. He creates, even if he's not actually getting a chance to deliver the end product, his reputation and his actual ability, ensures that he's got so many players on top of him that he should be creating space by default for a Rebo or whoever. I think he's an absolute invaluable player, and every single one of them had an absolute nightmare on Wednesday. So we couldn't really be singling anybody out other than Burn. Perhaps you could sing. You've got to single that. You've got to say that they were all kind of shocking. But I just thought. They were all at it today, and there seemed to be a wee kind of square almost of kind of industry and creation with like Lundstrom with Jack, and then you had Arfield and Aribo, just kind of in between the four of them. That's where everything was really happening, and everybody else seemed to be joining up with it instantly. And we basically seemed to do to Hearts today what Celtic did to us on the first half in Wednesday. We just outnumbered them everywhere and kind of ran them into the ground, And instead of doing the Celtic thing, well, they did it again today at Motherwell, where they're knackered by the second half. We can sustain that if we get on with our game, and we've ended up we've put that away in the second half, later on in the second half, and it's almost like we've got the better energy. And I'm just hoping that's indicative of what will happen in the actual league race.
Ian, coming into the second half, I would say sort of first 10, 15 minutes. You kind of got the feeling that we'd lost that rhythm. You know what I mean? And Hearts had 2 really, really good chances, both on Bassey's side, funnily enough. The second one especially, a poor header for him. And Devlin, I think he should score. He gets it over McGregor. If he gets on target, it's 1 each, and you're maybe looking at a different game there. So even although, a great performance today, a great result, and a statement, still a couple of signs there that, still need to improve and tighten up in some certain areas. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I don't think we should, go too over the top. I mean, I think there were moments. I mean, to be fair, you're going to get that in a game. The opposition are going to be on top. My worry about it was that it looked a bit like we were sitting back and letting them play, which is exactly where we've gone wrong in previous games where we've got a lead and we've thought, right, let's hold on to this lead. We hadn't done that in the first half today, but it looked like that was what was happening in the second half. And I think that second chance for Hearts was a kind of wake-up call a wee bit, and I think the players sort of realised what was happening. And we got the second goal just at the right time as well, which helped matters. And I think after that, it was... the game was in the bag, but we did seem to come out in the second half and just sat back and just let Hearts push at us a little bit too much, and and that's our defence this season has not been good, to put it mildly, and we can't afford to have teams on top of us all the time, because the more they do it, the more chance there is of us conceding a goal. And that almost happened, like you say, with the short header back from Bassey that could and should have probably been a goal. And it's that's happened a few times in recent games. So yeah, in some ways we were lucky, but I think it was. I hope it was recognised pretty quickly that was what was happening again, and the either the management or the players themselves sort of twigged to it and reacted. And started because in the first half we were pressing Hearts much further up the pitch. We weren't letting them get near the goal. We were closing them down early, winning the ball back, putting them under pressure, and that was why we were retaining possession. And that wasn't happening at the start of the second half. It happened more as the game progressed, and certainly after the second goal, that was what was happening all the time, and Hearts couldn't respond to that.
I mean, the second goal did come, and we've already spoke about how well Alfie played today. And I mean, the second goal is indicative of that. All right, he gets a wee bit locked. He kind of plays a 1-2 with the Hearts defender. And, I can't quite remember who he was trying to put through, but it's come back off the Hearts defender. Brilliant finish, left foot curl, top corner. Craig Gordon nowhere. And we seem to get confidence for that. That seemed to be the turning point in the game. It went from, Hearts could get back in this here to all of a sudden Rangers were on top. And then the third goal came very, very quickly after that. And I want to talk about the third goal because, in the last year or so, Kamara's had a couple of incidents that have been tough on him. He said Wednesday night that was obviously tough on him. And I've just seen a few people commenting on social media and stuff like that they don't think he's got it and all the rest of it. And I think Kamara's a great player. And I think he saw that in the finish. I think, how composed he was running through, the fact that he sent the boy out to get the rolls in the papers, the defenders just went skidding past him and just calmly placed it past Craig Gordon. I think that's indicative of what the guy can give us. I know he's not a great goal threat, but I think he's a very, very clever player, a very good player. And I was so chuffed for him. I was so chuffed that he got that goal because obviously that's him reacting to Wednesday night. But also, when you think of the stuff that's happened previously, in the European games and stuff like that, it was good to see him with a smile on his face again.
That was your response, just kind of characterised, embodied in one moment. The response to Wednesday. That was the happiest I was about any of the goals today. I just thought it was a magic moment. I was so fucking pleased for Glenn Kamara because I thought Borna Barisic was dropped today, and I think as Ian was maybe thinking, kind of talking about earlier, I feel as if Glenn Kamara, I would hate to think he was dropped rather than he was rested, literally, because Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has absolutely knackered Glenn Kamara. I'm the same as you, Colin. I think he's one of our key players, and for a guy who doesn't normally score goals, doesn't score a lot of goals, to go and get an almost solo goal like that. I mean, the wee build up again, it's another wee square, Aribo, and I think he starts it. Glenn starts it 4 minutes after he's come on, and there's a lovely touch for Alfie, and he's in. And as you say, it's like, I'll just beat you first, mate. I am going to score. I think the Glenn Kamara at any other moment would have been looking for somebody to square to. I think he has maybe Kent or somebody to his left. Yeah. Because like, no, I'm having this. And to see a guy who doesn't normally score go out after his lowest moment of the season and react by doing something he doesn't normally do and getting the goal and making sure he got it. I think they spoke about the man himself. This whole thing where Gio's been trying to have the two kind of sitting in midfield, and I think we tried it at Easter Road and it didn't really work. As with Steve Davis, we never really saw Steve Davis again after that with Glenn Kamara. And it ended up, we had basically Glenn Kamara on his own. In his first league game, Gio's first league game at Livingston, this thing where Glenn Kamara was a kind of single pivot or whatever you want to call it. He's on his Todd, and I've noticed the more he did that, the better we were, the better we played as a team. But you could see he was stretched. You could see there was more kind of long range tackle. He's kind of doing that thing that Kevin Thompson used to do that always gave me the fear, where he's kind of really hyperextend himself, putting his leg right out there. To reach for stuff he wouldn't normally have to reach to because he's got other players in beside him in Stephen Gerrard's system. And I felt as if Glenn Kamara up at Ross County, he might have fouled Alan McGregor with their last minute, their 97th minute equaliser. And then he obviously had a poor game the first half on Wednesday. But I would like to think he was just kind of rested, just taken out of it because he wasn't having a great game as opposed to being punished for anything he's done wrong, because I think he's just given it absolutely everything for Rangers, and he's a joy to watch. And I just think that was a nice thing about today. We got, Diallo comes back on. We got the players back involved. It wasn't like, right, your Rangers careers are over. When even Borna Barisic, the last time Borna Barisic went to a packed Parkhead, we won 2-1 and he set up both the goals. In fact, the last time we beat Celtic, did he put the cross in for Hollander? The game at Ibrox. I'm not sure. So But Bonner he's been having those absolute mares recently. He did the same thing at the back post against Ross County, again for that 97th minute equaliser to a lesser extent, and also the car crash between Kamara and McGregor and everybody else kind of distracted from it. But just the fact he was on his haunches after that goal at Parkhead just summed up a guy who's, his confidence is totally gone. Whereas Glenn Kamara, I would just like to think it was we were actually risking damaging his confidence by dropping him, by taking him off at half time the other night. And I think it was great to see him coming back on because he's just invaluable to Rangers.
On to the fourth goal, Ian, and he's my favourite Ranger at the moment, Scotty Arfield. And we all know how much Ross loves him as well, so it's always a joy when he gets a goal, and he's getting a few now. And again, another good move. I think you could argue he maybe should have at one point set up Alfie, but he's went for it himself. Gordon saved it initially, and then he's got the rebound. And he was one of the players that came out, one of the senior players that came out after Wednesday, and wasn't afraid to sort of stand up and criticise the players and the attitude and saying we need a reaction. And he was the same today. He came out today, and I just think he's somebody that gets it. I know some supporters aren't that keen on him, but I always look at him and think, if I was playing it at 5 asides, at 11 asides, I would want somebody like that in my dressing room. I think he's somebody you can rely on. I think he's dependable. And when it comes to playing for a big club like Rangers, I think he is just someone that gets it. And I find it really good and interesting that it felt for a period he was slipping out of things under Stevie G. He was sort of, his game time was getting limited. He seems to have breathed new life into his career since Gio's arrived, and it's good to see.
I mean, he offers something that a lot of our other midfielders don't offer, and that's that ability to get from the midfield into the penalty area and to be dangerous and to score goals. And that's, we need our midfielders to be scoring goals. It's not just about the forwards. That's exactly what we need, and he offers that. And like you say, I mean, to me, I felt that his time at Rangers was probably over, or he would be a bit part player under Gerrard, because he just didn't seem to be in favour anymore, and I wasn't really sure why. I mean, I don't know if his form had dipped or something, or and Gerrard just didn't fancy it at that stage, or what. But I mean, the fact that he's come back in, and since he's come back in, I know we've had a few ropey results to say the least, but he's certainly in that period where we were playing well. Has made massive contribution, and I think we need somebody who's a bit more dynamic, a bit more, even if he's not necessarily scoring the goal, he's creating problems in the penalty area for the opposition, and they're having to concentrate on him instead of the forwards. So a bit like Kent, perhaps further out the pitch, where he's drawn defenders away and creating space for other players. When Arfield bursts into the penalty area, he's making those defenders have to make a decision: do they go to him, or do they stick with the Morelos or Sakala or whoever happens to be on they're supposed to be marking, and that frees up them and creates space for them. So whether it's Harfield or anyone else, you need somebody like that who, I suppose they call it, I don't know, do they call it a box-to-box midfielder? They probably don't call it that anymore, but somebody who can do that, who can get in there and cause mayhem in the opposition penalty area. And and his attitude is spot on as well, like you say. Yeah. I mean, he's, he looks like he gets it, as you say. He understands what's required. He knows what, it's all. I'm not always that keen to say, we need Scottish players or we need Rangers fans in the team and all that sort of stuff. But it helps to some extent, especially when things are going badly. You need somebody who can just sort of say, look, this is, just grab the rest of them, but metaphorically, the neck or physically, if it has to be come to that, and tell them what, this is what matters, and I think he's that kind of player.
I think, the one thing I love about him is, and not every player can do this, he does have a certain amount of football intelligence when it comes to this, is he's the timing of his runs. He knows when to go and he knows when not to go. And he goes and as you say, he gives defenders a problem because they have to think, do I go to him? Do I stick with my man? All that kind of thing. So he has. And another thing is that point you made there as well. I don't think it's coincidence that he was one of the guys that came out after Wednesday to talk. I do remember a story when Rangers went to Celtic Park under Dick Advocaat and we lost 5-1. that it was Ian Ferguson that conducted the sort of dressing down of all the Dutch players, things were getting chucked against the wall and all the rest of it. Because I don't even think Dick Advocaat, totally got it. What it meant to suffer a defeat like that. And you get the feeling that, as you say, Scotty Arfield would have been in that dressing room on Wednesday going, guys, this just isn't good enough. We need to be better than this. So I've got a lot of time for him, and I can't wait to be in the show with Ross, because ever since he sat in this purple patch, I've not been on with him. So hopefully it'll be next week. Right, on to the fifth goal again. Morelos involved. As I said, he was involved in every game of the day. His link-up play was superb. His finishing superb. Brilliant run for Kent. And as Ian said earlier on, it was one of those. See if there was anyone on about him, you would probably say that touch was just horrific. But I think he knew he had so much space that he just basically kicked it 10, 15 yards in front of himself, ran onto it, put it across, Sakala, bang, in it went. A wee bit of a Morelos celebration as well, just to add to the moment.
I like that because it shows a team. I don't know. I think if there was what's the word? Can't think of the word I'm thinking of. But if there was unhappiness in the squad or within the team,
discontent.
You wouldn't do that. Discontent, that's the word.
Yeah.
You wouldn't do that because he was basically taking the piss out of him. He was making the sort of grumpy face and doing the thing, the hand thing, and sliding on his knees. And if there was any sort of chance that Morelos would take that personally or that would create tension, then he wouldn't have done it. So the fact that he was felt able to do that, I like to see that. I thought that was good. I'm glad for him. I think he's whether he's ever going to be the star we'd like him to be, I don't know. But I think I like him. I like his attitude, and I like having him around the team.
Well, I think after Wednesday, Ian, I think after Wednesday in particular, the value of players who just try. I know we'd all go out and try if we're playing for Rangers, and it just wouldn't be good enough. But I think somebody like Sakala. The fact that he clearly gives it his all, and a bit like Scotty Arfield as well. Scotty Arfield playing that whole game in Wednesday, but being, for want of a better phrase, the right kind of shite. It was a terrible performance, but you knew Scotty Arfield was doing what he could. He was getting dragged down by everything else. And when Sakala came on in the second half, he didn't really make any great inroads. It wouldn't have been harder to do better than the rest of them did in the first half. But you just knew that Sakala was a guy I was thinking would potentially succumb to the 60,000 crowd at Parkhead, all these accountants for Newton Mearns and all that with their Barans and their Che Guevara t-shirts, He would maybe find that a bit much, but no, it wasn't a problem to him. He came out and played his socks off, and that bit of the day, you're quite right. The celebration, we've seen that he gets on with Morelos. We've seen that Morelos likes Sakala. And we've yet to really see any evidence that Morelos likes, for example, Roof. Do you know what I mean?
I do think that
they've formed this opinion.
Yeah, I think they tolerate one another rather than anything else. I don't know if you remember last season when Morelos was chucking the bits of paper at Tav in the stand, and it was bouncing off Tav's head, and they were also hitting Roof. And Tav was turning around and laughing, and Roof was just sitting there like as if he couldn't be arsed.
And I think you get likes it. Sorry, I was just that Roof comes into the dressing room with a decent career and a cracking player.
Yeah.
And he's maybe Sakala. I'll take this too far. It's not maybe an apocryphal story, but I remember reading this when I was a kid. It's about when Puskas joined Real Madrid and Di Stefano was the man. Di Stefano would get rid of Didi from the Brazil team that won the World Cup in the 50s because he didn't like him. He wanted to be the star man. And Puskas arrives, Ferenc Puskas, one of the greatest players of all time. But when he turns up at Real Madrid, I think they were joint top scorers, the two of them, him and Di Stefano, come the last game of the season. And of course, Puskas is clean through on goal with a minute to go. And he just stands on the ball and he waits for Di Stefano to catch up and he squares it to him, to make sure Di Stefano finishes top scorer, like he's paid his dues, he'll be all right. And the two of them end up scoring 7 goals between them at the European Cup final at Hampden. But I think Sakala's done that to a much greater extent. Obviously, him and Morelos are much better than Puskas and Di Stefano.
I was just going to ask if that was who you're comparing them to.
That's it. I think so. I think it's quite reminiscent. You know what I mean? I think it's quite reminiscent. Di Stefano and Puskas wish they were that good. But he's done that. He's paid his dues. He knows who the top man is, the moody bugger. that he's got to kind of make sure he gets on with. And the two, if he's got to the stage now where he can actually take the piss out of Alfie, he's arrived.
I mean, in terms of Sakala, has he been a wee bit unlucky in not getting more game time? Because, I mean, he is starting to score. I think early doors or the early part of the season, we all sort of thought, looks a bit off it. Blew onto the scene that day at Fir Park, when we beat Motherwell 6-1. And then he started to contribute with goals, and, his performance levels sort of kicked on a wee bit. And I really was I know we all wanted Diallo to start on Wednesday, but after it, I was thinking, you know what, maybe Sakala was really unlucky not to start. You know what? I think he's contributing, and this whole thing about him smiling, this whole thing about this positive attitude that he's got, he seems to be someone that he'll keep going. He will keep going.
Well, he has scored against Real Madrid this season as well, hasn't he? Was it Sakala that got the other goal alongside him? And we beat them, So I think he's that's even. See, you look at Bassey today; it's the same thing. He has these ricks at the beginning of the second half today, and I don't mean this in a bit, but if we're coming out this performance on Wednesday, we've got to look at the way you really know your team is how they're bad when they're bad. What kind of level of bad are they? Are they bad as it's just like abstaining, just I don't want to be here? Or you've got like Sabasi today, who at least he was trying to do something. I mean, heading the ball back inside when you're in the position he was in the box, total no. But at least he was trying to do something instead of sitting in his arse. And I think with Sakala, it's the same thing. He's not always coming off. He's not getting the great numbers and all that. But when you consider the amount of times he's come off the bench, they're not bad numbers. And he always looks like he's going to follow instructions. He's going to keep the whatever pattern that Gio or whoever the manager is wants to play. He's going to bust a gut. And that's when after games like Wednesday night, that's when you realise how vital that is, to be able to keep going when it's not all coming off. Because if you stop going when it's not coming off, you can end up with what happened on Wednesday night. So I think he's doing great.
It's another cliche, but it's, you don't want players to hide. So if you make a mistake, put your hands up. And he literally did today, Barisic, when he made that header back. He put his hands up, said, "Look, sorry, I made the mistake there. I apologise to the keeper." But he didn't hide. He kept going. He kept playing, and he contributed later on in the game as well, and he did well. And that's exactly what you want. You accept players making mistakes. Sometimes they do, and okay.
As long as they put their hands up and own up to it,
exactly. And if they don't just say, that's it. They go into themselves, or they go in the huff, or they don't play. If you make a mistake, own up to it and just get on with it. That is what 99% of fans want to see. And if you make another mistake, you just carry on. And okay, maybe if you're not up to the standard, eventually, then you don't get a chance. You don't get a third chance. Yeah. But that's not his decision. That's the manager's and the coach's decision. If you're out there in the pitch, then you just keep going and don't just give up the ghost. That, and that's Bassey is a player, I think, which is what I like about him, is that if he does make a mistake, and he's made a few mistakes, let's be honest, he doesn't hide, he carries on. I also think the same is true of Kamara, who I've said before, I think he's a player, I really like him as a player. I think he's an excellent player. He does make maybe one or two mistakes every game. He maybe hits a short, or he gives the ball away occasionally. And, if he didn't do that, maybe he would be with us at all. So that, you just have to accept that. But he never hides. He always, he'll take possession again 2 minutes later, and he'll go again. He'll go again, exactly. So that's what we want. That's what I want to see from all our players. And we saw that today. Generally speaking, the players who were on the pitch, they showed some character, I thought, today.
In terms of new players coming in, Aaron Ramsey came on today. I was because I never managed to get to the game, I felt sure he was going to score. That didn't quite happen, Ian, but I mean, they didn't show too much today. There was one nice bit of skill in the corner there that put Bassey through. But I mean, you've got to have high hopes that this guy's going to, if he hits the levels that we know he can hit, he's going to have a big impact in the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. I mean, even he was only on 15 minutes today, if that, and you can see he looks like a player. You know, he didn't have much to do. Wasn't really involved in a huge amount of anything today, because by the time he came on, the game was already well and truly won. So we weren't relying on him. So he just came on and he quietly did what he had to do. But you know, he looks like a player, and I'm sure, you know, he's going to be, assuming he stays fit, he's going to be a first choice, and he'll help us. He can't not. We need that kind of player. We need somebody who's got creativity and who can unlock defences and can do that kind of stuff that we've just not always been doing.
And Alex, it's good to see Rangers maintaining this standard of signing handsome bastards.
Yes. If they don't have them on their podcast, they've certainly got them on the park as well. You know what I mean? Speaking for myself, obviously. But aye. The woman behind me was totally gutted when the ball went across, and she thought, "Oh, Aaron Ramsey's going to score here," but she was almost like disappointed that Sakala stole it off him, so to speak, because Ramsey was waiting to tap it in. And I thought, "Oh, aye, that's telling us all we need to know." Yeah. I think we've always really been the most handsome team in Scotland, Colin. So he's
no, it's undeniable.
He's picked the right club.
I remember when I took my now wife, then girlfriend, I took her to the CSK Moscow game. We weren't long gone out at that point, and that's obviously the night we nearly got to the Champions League final. And I just had 90 minutes of what one's Ali? Where's Ali? Is that Ali? Is Ali on? And I was just like, you're here for Ali, hen, aren't you? That's it. You're not here for me. You're here to have a swatch at Ali. So yeah, it's good to see that we're maintaining that tradition of signing handsome men.
Do you remember the midweek friendly we had with AC Milan? David Beckham was playing for Milan. Kaká is playing. I'd seen Beckham playing for Man U and whatever, wasn't it? But Kaká was playing for Milan. Absolutely responsible probably for the greatest pass of all time in the 2005 Champions League final. And he scored. And because it was a friendly, I was just wanting to see the moment, the very second he hit the ball, the lassie, Beckham had just been taken off. I didn't realise the lassie that was sitting in front of me had the full Milan jersey with Beckham on the back. So she's like, Beckham's off. So she gets up to leave. I miss seeing Kaká scoring, you know. So yeah, as much as I find Rangers players deeply attractive when they're doing certain things on the park, you know, when folk are actually stopping me seeing them score, it's unacceptable.
No, that's true. I think that comment about Kaká's pass is very disrespectful to Scott Allen, but we'll not go into that. Right, Ian. I wanted to talk about Lundstram and Ryan Jack. You know, they were the sort of two holders today. I mean, I think we saw Ryan Jack when he came on Wednesday, what he can bring to Rangers, you know, and that's what we've been missing. I think, okay, you can argue that Celtic had maybe went down a gear or two, but I definitely seen an improvement in Rangers when Ryan Jack came on. So I think you know what you're getting from Ryan Jack being there. You know, I think it's obviously going to improve us and give us a better chance of retaining the title. Lundstram is still a conundrum, though. You know what I mean? I thought he played brilliant today. And I mean, I think a lot of us thought he would maybe be out the window in January there, that for whatever reason it wasn't working. But it seems again today that, and it's not been for the first time this season, that all of a sudden people are saying, well, this guy might actually be a player and we might actually get something out of this guy.
Well, I mean, his first few games, I mean, I honestly didn't think he had a hope of doing anything at the Rangers at all. I mean, I don't often write players off early on, and he'd only played maybe 2 or 3 games, and at that point I was saying, I just don't think he's got it. I don't think he just didn't look like he had the intelligence or the physicality, even though he's a big guy. He just didn't look as if he had what was required. And at that point I wrote him off, and I'm glad to say that at that point, you know, he came onto a game, so you know, shows what I know. But I mean, you know,
commentators curse.
Well, true. Well, in reverse, I suppose, for his point of view. But you know, he went through a really good patch of form for a while, and then he just drifted away again, and you know, was bloody awful. And he just seems to be one of these players who's sort of, I don't know if it's the positions he's playing in, if you know, if he's asked to do something that he can't do, or he's not capable of doing, or whatever. He just didn't seem to fit, and you know, I stand by the fact that I blame him ultimately for the goal that Ross County scored, because he did some ridiculous
the crossfield pass
that was totally unnecessary. Gave them a throw in, gave them the impetus with a minute to go up and got a corner, and we know what happened after that. So So he makes these sort of weird decisions, but today, yeah, he was good, and I don't know if it was maybe just the fact he had somebody else beside him who was better suited to playing alongside him, because I've seen him playing with Davis, and the two of them just looked like fish out of water, to be honest, early on in the season, and it didn't look like he had much of a partnership going with Kamara either. So maybe just the fact he's playing alongside Jack give him that opportunity to do something different. I don't know, but he was good. He was good today.
Moving forward, 13 games to go. I think after Wednesday night, a few doubts and minds and stuff like that. But I think after today, there's a feeling that if we maintain that level of performance and that sort of intensity and go at teams the way we went today, starting on Wednesday against Hibs, that'll be another tricky game. If we do that more often than not, then we're in with a really good chance of retaining this title. Yeah, because
I think we're actually hoping that Celtic are going to, they're having their kind of golden period just now. They're going to start falling away, in a couple of games perhaps. And I would like to think that by the time they come to Ibrox, we're ready to do to them what we did to Hearts today, basically. If we could just keep the right players fit, but more importantly, it's the application. That's what that was all about today. It was just the application. Even as say Lundstrom, who's been a kind of bit of a bomb scare throughout the season, we thought we'd maybe seen the last of him. He was phenomenal today. At one point, I think he put in about 4 straight tackles in the space of 2 seconds and won every one of them. Before eventually Willie Colin had to stop him. By getting a foul against them,
and book him.
I mean, won 4 straight tackles. Rangers shot, booking. Violent conduct. But I thought he was absolutely different class, and I think it speaks of. I'm going to get back to this, Colin. I just have this feeling that today was a day where Gio it was his stamp of authority on the team, his kind of identity was kind of put onto the team, and were ready just to go. And it looked almost as importantly that the players were really hot by Wednesday. Even a few times under Gerrard, we had results like this, and you're waiting for the big reaction, and it never really came. See, the game against Motherwell that we always talk about has been the turning point last season. The game at Ibrox, where Roof and Itten scored the goals late on, and were 1-0 down early on. That followed on. That was the first game after we lost to St Mirren in the League Cup. And we did a bad result in Europe as well. And in the next game, I think we were against Kilmarnock at home or something like that. And half time it was 0-0. We looked pretty terrible, but eventually won the game. Whereas today, I think the response was massive, and it's as if. I mean, Gio had them locked in the dressing room apparently for an hour at Parkhead the other night. The statement of making the 3 substitutions, I think it's now his team. I think he's any kind of respect he was giving the players. He's thinking, if I go in here too heavy with my own ideas with a bunch of players who've just won a league title unbeaten, I might end up getting bombed out myself. I might lose them straight away. Well, now he's after that display on Wednesday. I think that the best that can come out of it, hopefully, is that Gio's now got his team, and there'll be a feeling of freshness about the place, and they'll be ready just to keep going because this is the league title. I mean, last season's was the most important league title ever. Funnily enough, I feel as if this season's is quite important as well. It might just be that I just want Rangers to win the league all the time, But I think if we get the money for the Champions League, I think we'll then be finally in a kind of level pegging again with Celtic on all fronts, and we'll not have to worry too much about the future.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Hey guys, looking at the time, I know we've got another couple of wee things on the agenda. I'll go with one of them, Ian. I'll give you the last shout. Crystal Palace in for Joe Aribo for 10 million in the summer, apparently. What do you make of that?
I think I wouldn't be surprised if we sell Joe Aribo in the summer. I don't think it'll be for 10 million.
10 million, yeah. I mean, if our second string left back's going for, our second string right back's going for 16.
But, well, exactly. So I don't think it'll be that, but I do think we'll sell him. I think that's part. I think we have to. Not necessarily Joe Aribo, but we have to sell players. We know that. That's the reality of it. So we'll be selling someone, and if someone wants to buy Joe Aribo, I think we'll sell him. I don't think it'll be for 10 million, but it might not necessarily be for as much as we would like. But I think that's the reality of the world we live in.
Is that and we have a winner for tonight's competition before we wrap up, and this will sound like a fix because I used to stay there. Cumbernauld Orange. No, it's not you, Ian. It's not you. Cumbernauld Orange, who was commenting tonight in the comment section of the YouTube channel. You've won one of the generic. It's not one of the limited edition ones. One of the generic Rangers Zenith coins. So congratulations. I used to stay in Craigieburn, by the way. Cumbernauld Orange. I don't know if I know who you are or if I went to Langlands Primary Way. That's the last time I stayed in a G postcode. A few years ago now. So that's it. That's us for tonight on the Gersnet Weekly Podcast. A big thanks to Alex and Iain for their contributions. Great stuff as always. We were live tonight. It was a Sunday night. We were live, but the pod will be available to download and stream on a variety of platforms from tomorrow, including Acast, iTunes, YouTube, Castbox, Stitcher, Spotify, all the usual places. We'll try and get a show out on Tuesday night, a preview show for the Hibs game. I'll maybe bump into Eck on Wednesday in the city centre. We'll maybe get some pre-match and post-match stuff out there as well. We'll see how things are. In the meantime, get yourself onto the Gersnet website and forums at www.gersnet.co.uk. And until next time, bye for now.